Oh my goodness, it's Monday night, and it is just the Eric Film Festival. No, we have no idea where Dan Rosenberg is. He's out on assignment. He has blown us off again for better things, but maybe he'll join in later. We'll see. We'll see. We don't know exactly where is Dan, but you could take your best guess in the comments if you want. This is the EriDan Film Festival where we talk about movies, and we're going to do that. We're going to invite you to join us. And I'm going to have to share a link in the comments if you're watching. I'm going to have to share the link for people to join us because there is no quick, easy way to join us tonight. You're going to have to do some work if you want to join us, but we want you to. So in the comments, you will find a link that starts with StreamYard.com, and we'll bring you to a nice, easy way to join us, and you can be part of the show, or you can hang out in the comments and tell us what you think from there. And we will anxiously await to hear what you have to say. Well, because I'm incredibly lonely here, I'm going to bring in some people and we'll talk. Oh, wait. What did I do? I got to do the thing. There it is. Hello.
Hello.
It's a lot harder being a one-man show. How are you, Stacy and Wade?
Oh, we're good.
Yeah?
Good-ish.
It's been forever.
Yeah.
Since you've been able to join in for the fun.
For the movie night, yeah.
For the movie night, exactly. We've missed you.
Oh, excuse me.
Your tremendous insight will be appreciated tonight for this theatrical masterpiece.
Yeah. I'm glad we watched it.
Yeah, I almost got that out. Let's bring more people in. Let's do this. And Amanda,
Ooh.
how are ya?
Doing all right. How are you all?
Doing all right. I'm wonderful. Fantastic.
Nice.
We've made it to another Monday, I guess.
That is true.
They
We
keep
have
coming.
Crawled and scratched our way to a Monday, and I'm anxious to hear what people have to say about A Fish Called Wanda.
Whose movie was it?
This was Dave's movie. Let's bring him in, and let's bring in the defendant, shall we? There's the man.
If I had a locket with a W on it, I'd wear it. But
I have one.
With a wa, not a W, a wa.
It's a what?
Wade has one.
Wade
I
should have one. There you go. And Adam is here in the comments, and it suggests that maybe Dan is in witness protection.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, and also a dud called Wanda. So thank you, Adam, for.
Would hate to be in suspense about what he thinks.
That's
about
right.
the
Unless
movie.
you were wondering.
He always really leaves you hanging, doesn't he?
Really, yeah. No way to know.
You know, I was hopeful for you because usually the day of, we get some sort of message. If he truly hated a movie, usually we hear from it long before the show starts.
Right.
So maybe he didn't hate it as much as other things.
We'll see.
Yeah. So well, I guess we're going to talk about A Fish Called Wanda from 1988. John Cleese, Jamie Lee Curtis, Kevin Kline, Michael Palin. That doesn't sound right when I said it. And $7.5 million and $62 million on the worldwide gross. The critics at a 96 and the audience at an 84. So, a lot of people having a lot of love for this movie. Even if it is a dud. No, it's here's the best review. There's your tag. A Fish Called Wanda. It wasn't the worst comedy I've ever seen.
At least he called it a comedy. There's some comedies we've watched you wouldn't categorize that way.
True.
That's a very good point. So Dave, why did you choose A Fish Called Wanda?
Well, I remember seeing this in theater when it came out. I remember really enjoying it, and I haven't seen it in a lot of years. So I was really curious to see how it held up on a probably 30-year later watching.
Right.
as well as to see how much of it aged well and how much of it didn't, because there's often some problematic things in movies more than 25 years old, if not even more recent.
The late 80s were a time.
Yes, they were indeed a time. You know, it's a year Amanda was born, so it was an important year. I only remember
It was
two
an
things from that
important
year.
year.
Amanda and Jen were born, and A Fish Called Wanda. I was really about
We've been competing with that movie our whole life. It's right.
Yeah, they've been trying to live up to Jamie Lee Curtis for their entire lives.
As long as you list them in that order, you should be okay.
Plus, I also remember this as being the first movie I remember Kevin Kline from. And this is the movie I went, man, he is really good. And ever since then, he has been really up and down. He's one of these guys, sort of like a Michael Caine, who is in some great movies and some terrible movies.
I'm not going to say who's impersonating who, but I get a real Steve Martin. Like when Steve Martin is trying to be loose and funny, he reminds me of Kevin Kline, or vice versa.
Right.
For some reason, it felt like Kevin Kline was doing a Steve Martin impersonation throughout this movie.
I'm trying to remember the comment in the trivia. There was something about him it took him a couple days to find the character. He was
Well, speaking of finding characters,
That's Scott? Yes, it's Scott.
It's Scott.
As a baby.
He'll grow.
Bring Scott back.
What?
I see this as an absolute win.
I am all the characters.
you are all the characters. Well, you're quite a character. Oh,
Here's the quote I like best. Jean Clee said he based the character of his Otto off a Zen Buddhist teacher he once had seen in an advertisement, a man who pretended to be knowledgeable but looked singularly unimpressive. He decided to write Otto as a man not smart enough to realize how stupid he was. Kevin Kline ad-libbed a lot of the material as he gradually found the character.
You couldn't have shared that before I introduced Scott.
That would have been amazing.
This is a magical night. We've got so many wonderful people here.
One ring to rule the moon. One ring to fight.
It's Brittany.
It's Brittany.
We're making up for Dan's absence here.
Guess so.
Dan's missing out.
Rest in peace, Dan.
Well, this way, maybe we can talk past 20 minutes.
I think we're allowed to talk as much as we want to. Yeah.
Whoa.
Whoa, we might go all the way till 8:30. Watch out.
Ooh. You're just a crazy man.
I know. Let's see what happens when we're out of control. I remember very distinctly not liking this movie when it came out. And I found that I liked it more this time. I'm not saying I liked it, but I liked it more this time than I had remembered liking it. You know, and there was a couple comedies from back then that I know that are wildly popular, you know, and for some reason
just don't work for you.
I might have been a jerk at this age. This and Dirty Rotten Scoundrels for some reason are movies.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
See, and I don't have any love for either one of those.
It's on my list of movies to pick someday.
And I will watch it.
Have you ever seen the
Maybe I'll
original
like it
that it was a remake of?
Huh?
Did you ever see the original movie that Dirty Rotten Scoundrels was a remake of?
I did not.
Okay.
Wasn't it David Niven?
It's Peter. I think it's Peter Ustinov. I don't remember who all is in it.
I'm not sure I realized that it had been based off of another movie.
Yeah.
Was this a first viewing for anyone besides me?
If I had gotten a chance to watch it, it would have been my first. So I actually I was kind of intrigued and I wanted to watch this one. And I pulled it up and then my Tubi crashed and wouldn't restart again. And I was like, hey. So I do plan on watching it probably tomorrow. I'm off. So, or maybe Wednesday morning before I go back to work. So I'll get you a score later in the week.
Cool.
Oh, and Adam had never seen it before either.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I'm misremembering.
We'll see if Brittany's looking forward to this or dreading this after the discussion. Some mixed views.
There's nothing particularly bad about this movie.
No, it's not like a painful watch, really.
No, there's nothing that was oh, I hated when, and it's like,
Yeah.
A nice little caper comedy.
Yeah. And the fact that none of the characters are likable means that you don't really care if like things go badly for them. It's like, yeah, that's fine. I don't know who I'm cheering.
But I think that's part of the point. I remember reading. I assume Amanda and Brittany are probably too young to really remember Dabney Coleman, but they tried to put him in a bunch of TV series.
Mm-hmm.
And Buffalo Bill was one. I don't remember. And they always failed. And I remember reading a review saying American TV producers have never figured out how to make unlikable characters still funny for the most part.
Right.
And they were comparing, I think, to something like Absolutely Fabulous or Faulty Towers, where these are really thoroughly unlikable characters, but you still find it funny. And American audiences, eventually we did in a few shows, but there was a long time, and I think that's part of this, is that sort of a British tradition of just a bunch of unlikable people getting in each other's way, messing each other up, everybody shafting everybody else.
The thing is that when America tries to do something that Britain has already done funny, they screw it up. No doubt. They almost
we got The Office.
Well, The Office, I do agree that our Office is better.
I don't agree that our Office is better, but I agree that they didn't mess it up. I think the American Office, after the first season, went in a very different direction and found its own path.
Yeah. It's still very cringe, and I have to silence it. But it's pretty good. And trying to watch the British Office, it hurts me physically to watch. I cringe so hard.
Oh, I love the British Office.
I wish I could. I would love to watch it, but it hurts.
Just watching David Brent's music videos are just wonderful.
We just watched another season of The British Ghosts, and I like it so much better than I like the American version. So,
well, another thing is the American shows tend to dilute it a lot, because instead of having a 6 or 8 show season, at least now streaming is different. But if you're showing on network TV, you're having at least 18 episodes a season.
Right.
And it really stretches the writers, I think, and really just tends to water it down.
Yes. So that when you come back to this, because it was written by Cleese, who is hilarious and has, I don't know. It's hard to explain. But this was not as bad as like Eric said, not as bad as I remembered it being. And then I was telling Wade and Reagan when we were watching it, I dated a guy in college who was a philosophy major, and he quoted this movie all the time, and I didn't know he was quoting this movie all the time.
Oh my goodness.
So he was quoting someone incredibly stupid.
How many times did he call you an asshole?
No, he didn't call me that, but he used that all the time. When he did that, I went, oh my gosh. Flashback. Because he would do that just randomly in the car or what, and just suddenly, and you'd be like, what are you talking about?
He thought the Gettysburg Address was where Lincoln lived.
See, he would quote that stuff all the time, and I'd be going,
oh, man.
I thought he was clever the first few times, and when I saw this and The Breakfast Club, he quoted constantly, and I'd never seen either.
Wow, and you let him slip through your fingers.
Oh, yeah.
This did so well that I think it was 94. They made another movie. It's not a sequel in any way.
Right.
The characters are completely different, but it's starring the same 4 lead actors because they were hoping to recapture that chemistry. And it isn't a bad movie, Fierce Creatures. It's a much gentler script. It's not nearly as backstabby and cringy at times. It's basically about people trying to defend a zoo from some corporate takeover or something like that. So it's a much simpler, less violent story.
That's from 94?
I think it was 94.
Wow, I thought that was from like 10 years ago.
No, it was definitely later than that.
I believe you. I believe you.
It was while this movie was still somewhat fresh in people's minds.
97, but still not 4 years ago.
Still.
Okay, so 9 years later. Okay.
Still.
Yeah.
Wow.
And did Cleese write that as well? I don't remember.
And does Jamie Lee Curtis make out with every member of the cast like this?
No, it is not nearly as she is not nearly as transactional as my recollection.
She deserved an Oscar just for that.
Reagan said, "Oh my gosh, it's called a fish called Wanda because she's catfishing everybody." I said, that wasn't even a thing yet. That was not a thing yet. But
That's
yes,
hilarious.
Yeah, the two things that I've read that people found, and I understand it, didn't age well, were Michael Palin's stutter.
Yeah.
Right.
Although that was hit or miss because his father was a severe stutterer, and he based his character on his father and his father's speech patterns. I was reading one article that said it's problematic, but not in the way you think. It's problematic not because he stutters, but because of how people react to his stuttering, and that actually led in some cases to people in the real world being laughed at because they'd seen this film.
Oh my!
Okay. So Palin actually then started a charity for stutterers after he got some criticism over this.
Oh wow!
And then the other thing is sort of just the casual homophobia, but we've seen that in other movies. If you remember the scene from Groundhog Day, where Bill Murray's character goes up to Ned Ryerson and goes, "Hey Ned, how'd you like to?" And it just that was sort of a common thing back in those days.
Oh yes, that was humor, quote unquote.
And it really didn't seem bad. Like the
No.
one guy was pretending to have the crush on the other guy, but it's not like any of them. There wasn't, and he seemed really freaked out by it. But like that was pretty much the extent of it.
The one thing was the one throwaway line where Michael Palin where Ken is supposed to kill the lady, and Otto doesn't think he'll be able to do it. And he says, you'd be willing to kill somebody. He goes, better than buggering someone or something like that.
Oh, I missed that line in the stutter. Yeah, that's not great.
Wow.
Yeah, I missed that.
But still, I think those are minor. Given the age of the movie, I don't really. It doesn't really bother me. And Kevin Kline won an Oscar for this role.
Wow.
Yeah, best supporting actor.
It was for crossing his eyes.
Well, apparently during that scene, Jamie Lee Curtis had to bury her face in the pillow to keep from laughing because she couldn't look at his face without cracking up. And she didn't get as naked in this as she did in Trading Places.
That is true.
Note to self: watch Trading Places.
Oh my!
No, I still enjoy the movie. I don't know if I enjoy it more or less than I did all those many years ago, but to me it holds up. But I also admit I love Michael Palin. I love John Cleese. Jamie Lee Curtis is always entertaining. So it's a good cast. You can argue that the story didn't work for you, and I can understand that. It was also interesting that they brought back the director because he was a classic. Crichton was a classic British comedy director. He directed the Lavender Hill Mob with Ealing, which is a very similar feel of an old English heist kind of movie. So I think that's why Cleese wanted him for the director for them. This was the last motion picture he directed, and he hadn't directed a motion picture. He had directed TV and things like that in decades when he did this.
Adam says that he liked Monty Python and found that Cleese to be funny in this movie, but the rest of the cast he did not find funny.
We had the benefit of having Amanda interpret the Italian for us while we were watching.
Oh goodness!
Yeah, it was a lot of listing off increasingly complex food orders. It was.
No, Otto was just doing food. John Cleese actually spoke a real sentence, but Otto was just doing food.
That's awesome.
Hilarious.
That's awesome.
I like how he speaks in that. He speaks like such a barrister in that scene. I hereby undertake not to repeat any such slander.
Wade, when watching, he's or was it Reagan who said he'll never pick him up? And I said, look, it just cuts to the next scene. We don't know what happened.
You don't have to worry about him actually doing that.
Yeah.
Well, I think Otto is still somewhat realizing, at least to a small degree, that they kind of need him.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the dogs.
Oh
There it is.
Yeah, I
I was waiting.
It didn't bother me as much having the dogs die as it did having the long, drawn-out fish murder. I felt really bad for all the fish by the end of that movie. Like, that just made me very sad. Which definitely takes points off.
That's what made the fairly mild-mannered Ken finally rise when he's driving the steamroller. Revenge!
Yeah.
Revenge!
There was good payoff for it, but like, it just made me sad.
I feel like he was
Apparently
doing
Klein
a
did
parody
actually
of...
offer to eat fish in that scene, but they wouldn't let him. They made fish out of gelatin for him.
Yeah, that's really good.
Well, that's better. No fish were harmed in A Fish Called Wanda.
Yeah, like the most
Well, I'd say
memorable
the dogs.
that I remember.
Oh, no,
from
they killed the
movie
dogs.
was the, don't eat the green ones; they're not ripe yet. That was like the most memorable I remembered.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I had forgotten. I remembered large swaths of it. I had forgotten his wife
Yeah.
also having the W initial, and then, oh, it's the nicest thing you've ever bought me.
It has a "wah" on it.
That's
What?
what she said.
Yes.
Oh my!
Oh, those Brits. You'd think they invented the language or something.
I know what. Oh, whatever.
I think
I
I would
also don't think it outstayed its welcome. I think the length was about right.
No, that's fair. I would agree. It was a good length.
Yeah, it's not excessively long, which is nice. And for a comedy, you have to be really careful if you're going over 2 hours.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it would have need more. If it was going to go any longer, I feel like it could have used more caper, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
There could have been, I don't know, comedy car chase, kind of stuff happening.
I did enjoy George. his over the top. Yes, you've done well, my son.
Oh, yes, yeah.
He had probably the least amount of time in this film of the main.
Yeah.
He did. But when she portrays him on the witness stand.
Yeah, that's a scene I remember too, pretty vividly.
So what was it about? Do you know what didn't really work for you, Eric, or is it just an overall just not your kind of movie?
No, I don't know. It's not as. And again, I'm sort of always on the fence about British comedy typically, where it can go either way. It's not, it's nothing I seek out, is that kind of humor, It's it's totally like, it's a fine movie, it's not that I don't like it. It's just that I don't like it.
It is somewhat of a divisive movie. I mean, it's on, for example, Empire Magazine in 2016 ranked at 35 on their list of best 100 British films.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's on a lot of top 100, even top 10 lists. But on the other hand, there's definitely reviewers that found it boring and didn't like it, and
I feel like
work for them.
And maybe a lot of this stuff was original in '98, but I feel like there's almost a lot of stuff that you see over and over again, which makes the movie feel kind of predictable as you watch through it. You know, where it's like, and now he's gonna rob himself and get the locket back, and that'll be hilarious. And wait, he's kind of beating him up while he's trying to apologize.
When Otto opened the safe, did you foresee her pulling out the rod and about to hit him over the head?
No. That was pretty good.
Well, that set the tone.
Everybody backstabbing everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah, well, and like as soon as they were like, "Oh, this is a vacation home," and they're off in Hong Kong for a month, so we're fine. It's like someone's going to show up while they're there. Although I at least didn't expect the way that they did it. I appreciated that it was, because I kind of assumed that they're going to walk in while the two of them are like having sex, and it's going to be, but like now it's just him standing there naked dancing, which is
with a pair of underwear on his head.
Yeah, which is like an interesting.
Those parents were very not concerned about shielding their kids' eyes.
Right?
Him standing there.
They were just in shock.
Yeah, they were worried more about.
Aren't you Archie Leach?
Yeah.
What made me, wasn't the picture he put in front of himself her face?
Yes, that was her picture.
Why, when they were just getting there, it wasn't their house?
Yeah, that was a continuity error. Yep.
maybe the
I think
people
we're
whose
looking at
house
that.
it was were really, I don't know, like secretly in love with her, and it was a whole secret story that we could see in the sequel.
Yeah, it was a close family
Maybe.
friend.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
kinds of crazy drama.
Yeah.
And then watch and Jamie Lee Curtis, even though you could argue her character was a bit too willing to do whatever it took to get what she wanted in some scenes, she was very effective at it. I mean, you could see why all these people were charmed by her.
But she never got very far with any of them. She knew her limit and her boundaries, and she didn't cross that. Most
But then she
Although
fell,
I get you
she
get the
fell in
feeling
love
she was
awfully fast.
you get the feeling she was about to with Archie if they hadn't been interrupted in the apartment.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, because she
After he
liked
did
Russian
his Russian.
songs for him.
But he spoke
Yeah.
Russian. How could she not fall in love with
I
him?
was going to
Yes.
say, speaking Russian.
She's a sucker for foreign languages.
Mhm.
Stacy, you once had that haircut, didn't you?
I did.
I thought so.
Yeah, my senior year, I had that haircut.
That's what I thought. I thought that was familiar.
Yeah.
1988, 1987. There you go.
Yeah, my college ID has that haircut. It's grown out a little bit, but yes. I was
What do you
cute.
mean the central message of Buddhism is not every man for himself? Come on. And when he's startled when he wakes up after, beyond good and evil and just shoots, just like, oh, okay. Just goes back to reading. That was one other comment I read online was that from one critic saying, it did a far better job than most movies. Within the first minute and a half of the movie, you had a rough idea who each character was.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They sort of set them up really quickly.
Yeah.
True. For better or for worse.
For better or for worse.
I liked Kevin Kline for a while, but watching this, I was like, oh.
Well, the number of times he was peeking in windows in this movie.
Yeah.
Even the airplane, it's like, oh my gosh, they're creepy.
I'm trying to think of Kevin Kline movies that I do enjoy.
I don't know if I've seen any other movies with him.
What about Dave?
Oh, I do like Dave.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh,
I was thinking of if it came up before the election, if my name comes up again, picking Dave.
You're still on the double feature wheel, so
I could do 2 presidential themed movies.
oh, there you go.
Oh, there you go. That's a good one.
Yeah, I'm looking. Oh, French Kiss. I do like French Kiss.
I don't think I've seen French Kiss.
It's him and Meg Ryan. You'd hate it.
I know that a lot of people love it. I'm not a big fan of In and Out.
I've never seen that. Oh, he was in Wild Wild West.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Why do you think
Stacey wasn't
Stacey
gonna
left the
say
room?
that.
I was not going to mention it.
He wasn't very good at it. Yeah.
Nobody was very good at it.
He's also in the Pink Panther remake with Steve Martin.
Oh,
Yes.
That I could see.
And he's not bad in that. But the trouble with those movies is they can't hold a candle to the original
Yeah.
Peter Sellers versions. So no matter how good they are, they're not going to be as good.
Yeah, it's official. I don't really like Kevin Kline. There you go.
Phone behind my head.
That's really funny. Adam says there was definitely stretches of this movie that lacked comedy.
Yeah.
Which,
Well, not every movie's Airplane with nonstop jokes. So
it's true.
tragically.
It's true. They tried to move the story along at some point.
he was in Bob's Burgers.
Was he now?
Sure.
42 episodes of Bob's Burgers.
Yes, he was. He's annoying in that too.
Yeah.
He's the guy who owns the building.
Oh, and he was in the live-action remake of Beauty and the Beast.
There you go.
Which is not the worst of Disney's live-action remakes, which is about as much as I can say for it.
He is the best thing in that freaking movie. Legit.
Oh, he's
Like-
Maurice. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, that scene where he's just working in his workshop and he's talking about Belle's mom to her. It's like, just watch. This is gonna be the best scene in the whole freaking movie. 'Cause he's not an idiot anymore. He's not bumbling around. He's a real soft, kind-hearted human being.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
Dave, you should definitely avoid French Kiss. It gets a 48 on Rotten Tomatoes.
I mean,
Oh,
Wow,
yeah.
it's not that.
that's rare air.
Yeah, but it's Meg Ryan, so It's Meg Ryan when Meg Ryan was still being Meg Ryan, so I'm good with it.
Oh, I'd forgotten he was in Silverado. If you like westerns, Silverado's worth a watch.
Yeah, I've not seen most of what he's in. Yeah.
Cleese considers this in some ways his best movie. He actually that he wrote. He actually kind of likes Clockwise more, but Clockwise was such a failure at the box office that sort of taints it in his memory.
Now you've got me on to John Cleese movies, which I can't really think of any.
Well, I just named one.
Harry Potter.
Yeah. Okay, I can't imagine any that I've seen.
He's in all the Harry Potter movies.
Oh, he was in Rat Race. That's right. So we have seen him in Rat Race.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
Yes. And that's true. He is in the Harry Potter movies. Yes.
He was in Trolls.
He's just always John Cleese. He's not stretching himself. And then obviously the Monty Python movies. And again, the Monty Python movies aren't movies that I necessarily ever see.
They're not really movies per se. Well, some of them are. I would argue that Life of Brian is an actual narrative movie. But something like The Meaning of Life or even The Holy Grail is mainly just edited together bits.
No wonder. Oh, I can't sit through those. I can't.
Crazy. All right. Well, we've made it 31 minutes. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So let's jump through and hear your final thoughts. That's going to put me up there, and I don't want to be up there. I got to bring Dave up there so we can hear Dave's final thoughts.
Oh, he was in George of the Jungle.
Oh, wow. I take everything back.
Who was he in George of the Jungle?
He's the ape.
Oh, John Cleese. I was like, Kevin Kline wasn't the ape.
No, we were on to John Cleese.
That's right. Adam said he was really funny in Third Rock from the Sun. Which I forgot all about that.
I agree. And if this had not been an ensemble movie and he had been asked to carry it, it would have definitely not. His role would not have held up as well. That was one of the reasons this movie works for me. Is the load is really carried pretty evenly between the four characters.
True.
So yeah, I still like it. I certainly understand it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and I certainly take no offense if people give it crazy low ratings. But I still find that it holds up for me. I would very much enjoy watching it again. I don't tend to watch movies close together back to back, but in a few years, I'd happily watch it again. I don't really know. I didn't find I like the idea of the what happened to them after type of thing. I often like that. I didn't find these ones terribly entertaining, though.
I didn't think those were really funny. Yeah,
it just seemed random and not even tailored to the characters in a way that was interesting. It just kind of seemed like
that was a waste.
They were zany.
Yeah, they were just sort of random.
Yeah.
But it didn't in any way harm the movie for me. I still enjoy it. I still consider it an excellent movie. It would probably be on a top 100 comedies list for me. I'm not sure top 100 movies, but certainly top 100 comedies. I'm going to give it a 93.
93. Very nice. All right, let's hear what Amanda has to say.
Yeah, so I enjoyed this movie. I hadn't seen it before. I do tend to like British humor, so that helps, I'm sure, a lot. As I said, without I would watch it again, except that I don't like the fish murder scene. I don't know why it bothered me so much.
I didn't like it.
The dogs were killed. It was an accident, and he felt really bad about it. And it was just
it was just casual cruelty. Yeah,
and I was like, I don't need that. That's just excessive. But otherwise, it was.
Well, it was made even worse by you saw how much those fish meant to Ken. Yeah, that made it even harder to watch.
Sad. I was like, I don't. Yeah, just making me feel sad while I'm watching this comedy.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I'm super excited. So
ready for
I pulled it up. It's over here. I'm starting to watch it, and I'm watching these fish, and I'm going, oh no.
Yes, don't get too attached. They're not going to survive. But yeah, Otto's character was I think the highlight for me. I thought he was great. I really enjoyed his weird mix of just
don't call me stupid,
being very confidently wrong about things. I had forgotten that during the sex scene, the Italian that he was spouting was a lot of like comparing her breasts to the domes of the Milan Cathedral, which is a cathedral that has no domes. Just a lot of just he's just an idiot who wants to sound cultured and is not, and it's very funny. So he helped a lot for my enjoyment of the movie.
And I think you said the translation of what John Cleese said in Italian was something like, I married a woman who loves to spend her time.
Who much rather do gardening than make passionate love with me. Yeah.
And that was a mistake or something like that.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ho sbagliato. Yeah, that was a mistake. Yeah. 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 So that was a fun moment. But yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I would watch it again, but yeah, not immediately, and I might be sad during the fish scene. But otherwise, good movie. I'm gonna give it an 87.
87. Excellent. That's more than reasonable. Let's hear from Scott.
Hello, friends. How are you?
Nice to see you back, Scott.
Yeah.
Wow. So I haven't seen this movie in a very long time. I'm a big Monty Python guy, and it was nice to see John Cleese kind of find this magic line between being the straight man and being the weird one. Usually he's strictly one or strictly the other because of just the rules of the game. And no, he actually showed some real depth to this character. And again, I always forget that Jamie Lee Curtis and John Cleese were in a movie together. It's funny to think about. I feel like what this movie does really well is that it doesn't take itself too seriously by being overly serious in very specific moments. Like the composer did not have to try so hard for this movie, but he did. And because of that, it's so hard for you to sympathize with those characters, especially since they are all awful people. This adds to the entire exaggeration of the whole thing. Yeah, Kevin Kline steals every scene that he's in. I love how it's just a classic screenplay where no one is really what they seemed, except for this young woman actually falling in love with this much more mature, older man who's actually looking to be younger again because he is so trapped by his life. And it's just classic British humor. Like, they're so rigid and caught up in their society. And like John Cleese said, they're just so tired of being British.
Afraid of being embarrassed.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So no, I still love this movie quite a bit. I saw it when I was 12, and I probably understood it even more today. Weird movie to see when you're 12 for sure.
Yeah.
But I will give this probably an 87.
Is that an 87 you said there?
Yes, sir.
All right. Excellent. Very nice. Very popular score tonight. All right, let's head over to Stacey Wade.
You ready, or you want me to?
Yeah, I kind of liked it. I like the characters. Yeah, Kevin Kline. Well, Kevin Kline started to get a little too much, but all in all, it was kind of funny. It was funny how you know, there's scenes going, and all of a sudden he jumps in, and like when John Cleese jumped out of the car and ran into Ken's house, he jumps into the car and takes off. Asshole. So, so I think I'm going to give it about
asshole.
There you go. That's it, Scott.
Wow, there it is.
That was good.
You got it down.
Sorry.
I'm going to give it an 85 about what the audience
85. All right.
I really expected to heavily dislike it because I didn't have good memories of it, and and things were different than I remembered, but not very different. I always remember Mr. Manfredgens, and
yeah,
it's been stuck in my head for.
It reminds me of the man with two brains.
Yeah.
Far.
Yeah. So yeah, as much as Kevin Kline's character Otto got on my nerves, it was kind of brilliant. You know, when he just appear in the window when they were at that vacation home, and then he's and I could see him like to the side, and I'm like, what the heck was it? Oh my! I was startled like I was in the room. That was kind of weird. And then the airplane too. Those two scenes, and then when he got squished with the steamroller, it's like, well, that's not going to last. He's totally fine.
How about when he's trying to fake his way out of the house, pretending he's with the CIA?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then her dad worked for the Secret Service. That was good.
Yes.
The scene where he's like, I think my favorite one that I forgot about was after he accidentally knocks out John Cleese's character and is like apologizing to his unconscious body. Like I love how his acting in that scene. It's
and then starts kicking him.
Yeah, because after he'd spent so long in the car just trying to say the word sorry, now he's like, I'm sorry. It's really good. I love it.
And then he gets mad at him, but how was I supposed to know it's you? Kick.
Yeah, no, it was great.
I think Kevin Kline ran so that Chris Pratt could walk. It's his Parks and Rec character completely.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. Anyway, so I liked it better than I thought, and definitely the campiness is very 80s, very British. And this is the thing. You guys are talking about this British movie, and you know that the director is British, and Cleese wrote it. Of course, he's British, and Michael Palin's in it, and he's British. And I didn't ever think of it as a British movie ever. I thought of it as an American movie with 2 British guys in it.
Well, 2 of the 4 stars were Americans, so it makes sense.
Right, and that's how I've always thought of it. But now, as an older person who watches more British TV than I ever have, I see that now, and I get it. And I liked John Cleese because he's funny, and sometimes he's not in some of those British TV shows. I never got the humor of Fawlty Towers, and definitely not Monty Python ever. Sorry, I just cannot be that Monty Python person. But
I own the complete set.
I'm sure you do, Dave.
I believe you own multiple copies of the complete set.
That was one of my after school absolute luxuries, was watching Monty Python on Channel 13. I loved it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's how I spent all my days alone while everyone else was at work, and I was just by myself. Friends.
And I can appreciate that, even though I don't appreciate them for myself. I appreciate people who do like them. And
yes, the people who have no friends who watch Monty Python. Cheers.
You know what, though? But I know so many people who do love it and have friends who love it too. So it's not just an alone thing.
She knows it's not just losers who watch Monty Python. It's
right.
fine.
It's not. It's an array. It's an array of people. Brilliant people love Monty Python, and I am not a brilliant person, so I don't get
one
it.
too.
So I'm going to give it. I'm going to give it an 84, and because Eric brought it up.
There it is. There it is.
Whoa.
I told you.
You did have that haircut.
I told you.
Yeah.
I would never deny it.
How popular, how in style were you in 1984?
I was pretty in style.
Yeah.
I was pretty in style.
Yeah, you were really in style.
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis. Excellent. Well, we haven't gotten a score from Dan, and obviously we need a score from Wade. I will throw out my score.
Wade already scored it.
There's nothing not to like about it.
I assume he meant Adam, but not Wade.
That's Wade's middle name.
I did. I meant
if you want to give
I get those two mixed up all the time. As long as Stacy does.
Very easy.
He kept talking, hoping people wouldn't notice.
Let me see. Oh, Dan's in the comments. So we'll get a score from Dan here in a second.
You look so enthusiastic.
I think I'm at a 78 with this movie, where it's like there's nothing bad about this movie.
Right.
It just doesn't, it's nothing I would ever seek out. Dan on the much higher end, and the very popular
another 87.
High five.
Let's go.
We are getting another 87 on there. That's the third.
That's the median score.
That is.
It will be very interesting to see if my score is going to make a difference.
Yeah, you're just spending the whole movie going like, this isn't an 87. What are these people on about?
Like, well, because whatever the score ends up being, my score is either going to, there's
It
that.
should affect it. It probably won't.
The 40.
Kind of like it.
A very generous score from Adam.
He didn't hate it. He didn't like it.
It's all John Cleese's. That's about 40 cats or 400 Madam Webs.
Yep, absolutely.
It's interesting because John on Monty Python. Go ahead.
Oh, he didn't realize he had picked the most popular score of the
night.
In Monty Python, there were a couple of songwriting teams. So Cleese and Graham Chapman wrote together. Palin and Terry Jones wrote together. Then Idle was sort of off on his own. Cleese was the absurdist writer. That's why he did things like the Ministry of Silly Walks and things like that. It was always just random absurdist humor, which is why it's so interesting to see him writing this yes, it's got some wackiness to it, but a very straightforward narrative movie is not what you would have expected from him back in his Python days.
Wow. I think we've got
Palin
everyone.
was more the intellectual writer at that point.
So if there's anybody hiding in the comments who wants to make a score, they can do that. But otherwise,
One other bit of trivia is apparently when Palin first read the script, he thought it was terrible.
oh, that's funny.
He agreed to do it anyway, but he didn't think it was a good script.
Oh wow.
When he came on the screen, I went, "Oh my gosh, look how young he is!" And I was thinking he was Eric Idle, and then I'm like, "Oh, it's not Eric Idle."
I thought you were going to say when Kevin Kline came on the screen. I was like, which?
No.
Sorry.
Good job, Scott. Good job.
Woo! Barely survived the middle. So close to great.
Yes, it did survive getting onto our second screen.
It's higher than A Beautiful Mind.
Great. It is very, very close to A Beautiful Mind.
Wow.
Not quite as good as Music and Lyrics or Wayne's.
Okay. To me, the fact that it's lower than Rise of the Guardians is just patently ridiculous.
Listen, Rise of the Guardians
Wait,
is
really?
amazing.
The Owl movie?
Yeah.
No. It's
No.
Not the Gals of
Not the
Galhool.
Guardians of Galul.
No,
This
the Jack Frost Christmas Easter movie.
This is a animated Christmas movie with Jack Frost and Santa Claus and the
And the
Easter
Easter
Bunny and the
Bunny.
Tooth Fairy.
And I love it. It's so good.
Well, I hope it was higher than Jack starring Michael Keaton as a snowman.
I don't think we're going to watch that any more than we're going to watch Jack and Jill from Adam Sandler.
Well, now that you say it.
Yeah, now that you say it, I'm definitely picking that this Christmas.
I was
am
thinking
picking
about
Jack
some
Frost.
terrible
There it
movies to
is.
suggest later.
That's our
I
next
do love
theme
that
pick
one.
after Cats.
Don't
That
give
makes
Brian
me
ideas. Brian keeps threatening just to randomly pick bad movies because he
Well.
likes people's reaction to them.
It is true.
They can be fun to discuss.
They can be
Yeah.
very.
They're
Does get
painful
a good
to watch.
reaction.
Yeah, well, you got to suffer through it.
Suffer for your art.
That's right, exactly. So the next time we get together, if I'm right, it'll be a double feature.
Ooh.
Oh,
Well,
my
or
goodness.
social hour.
That's right. Next time we get together, it will be the social hour. And then the time after that, when we get together to discuss movies, it'll be a double feature because it'll be August 5th.
That is correct.
Yeah. So we need to go visit the double feature wheel and figure out who hasn't figured a double feature recently and who gets to choose. So let's go do that.
Take
All right.
me off. I don't want to pick two in a row.
All right, I will
take me
turn off.
I'll take a spot.
You can't take
I'm
his
sure that's
spot.
how that works.
Turn off Dave. And Rebecca does not seem to be in the comments tonight, so I'll turn off Rebecca.
Ooh.
Oh, geez.
So this gets real dicey now.
Oh man! But all three of you are going to pick the same movie. I mean, come on, your tastes are so
true.
aligned.
It's true. I've been in the mood for a musical lately, so get ready.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah, let's let Eric
The Star
think
Wars
Adam
Holiday
just
Special.
So this will be for August 5th. Will be the night that we're talking about these two movies. So you have a week to figure out what two movies you want to choose. So let's shuffle this. And that made a huge difference. The colors
Whoa.
changed. And let's spin this. We are getting down here to the wire for our double feature wheel. And it looks like,
sponsored by.
and it's very hung up. Is it
And it's
moving?
sponsored by Pepto Bismol.
Oh, look at that. It is me.
Hey.
Hey,
Yay. There we go.
just pick a good musical.
Or pick one good musical and one bad musical.
See, that's what I
That's
was
true.
thinking. I'm thinking the way you're thinking.
That would be at least something to cleanse the palate after the bad one.
Yeah.
Well, it all depends what you consider a bad musical.
Did we do Rocky Horror yet?
The pirate movie. I know it's not.
There
streaming
was-
anywhere,
oh, I
so
missed
I'm safe
this.
from that.
I missed this comment from Adam. That there was a
I assume that was Brittany.
I'm assuming that was
That's
Brittany
okay.
as well.
I do okay.
Is there a good musical? I think
There's
I have an
You work at a theater.
We
I
watched
have
some
a
good
musical. I think I have a musical that Adam's going to enjoy. If I decide
I enjoyed
to
The
go-
Music Man a great deal.
Well, I love
And we
the
watched Cats.
I actually would have been. I'm going to be here for that double feature too. I'm excited.
Guys and Dolls.
Oh, I'm so excited. Well,
No,
we'll
Guys
see.
and
it
Dolls,
might
no.
be. It might be a double. It might be two musicals. We'll see how we do. We'll see how generous I'm feeling this week.
There is jazz.
I don't think it was ever filmed, but there is Dirty Rotten Scoundrels the musical.
Oh my!
Oh yeah.
Well, there is Shrek the musical, but I'm not doing that either.
Dude, Dr. Horrible.
That's true. You could do an animated
A
musical.
little short.
That is true. I just need to see the movies I'm thinking about. I need to find out if they're streaming.
Yes, you need to check the availability. Yep.
So, because I definitely have two in mind, I'm just not sure if they're streaming anywhere that won't cost anything. So we'll get on that, and we'll find out next Monday what those movies might be. So now your favorite part of the night is what else have you been watching? And we lost Brittany.
Let's see. On Friday night, I was watching my work computer blue screen.
Ooh, you got one of those.
I only did it twice. I wasn't nearly as affected as some people.
I was a little worried I was off doing a wedding.
Oh gosh.
Oh my.
Wow. You'd have to take it old school and take records and stuff.
Yeah, right. I did boot up both my computers on Saturday morning before I left to make sure.
I can see Eric standing up to Mike going, "Don't worry, be happy."
I like to get hired. Now, do we consider if something is on Apple TV? Does that count? No, that doesn't count.
Why not?
If it's the
For
only
some of
way
us,
to
it could
watch
work, but for some of us, it couldn't. So it's not great.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have no access to that.
No, I understand.
If it's like also rentable, that'd be fine. But if that's
It's definitely rentable.
okay. I mean, if it's
Definitely
rentable,
Yeah, if it can be rented for $4 or less, I think that's fair game.
yeah, then that's not.
And I want to make sure that only one of my musicals would require a rental.
I think that's very fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to make a poster for a movie called Being Robin, which is all about this guy named Roger who gets possessed by the ghost of Robin Williams in 2014. It's like a Man on the Moon situation. Instead of Jim Carrey, it's a guy named Roger.
And are you going to pair that with Being John Malkovich?
I think I would. That would be a good one.
Yeah.
It's my white wine with my fish.
That's a very absurd movie.
It totally is.
So I watched a movie that came out on Netflix a while ago, a couple years ago, called You People. Have you guys, anybody seen this movie?
I feel like I have.
It's Jonah Hill and Eddie Murphy and Julia Louis-Dreyfus. It's a comedy.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see this.
It looked really funny. I didn't see it.
This is a really funny movie.
It's supposed to be Eddie's comeback. Yeah.
I found it really enjoyable. I think it came out in 2023 sometime.
Yes.
It's like a romantic comedy. It's really funny, probably partially inappropriate at times.
Good to know.
But a lot of fun. David Duchovny's in it. There's an amazing amount of like just random guest stars that are in it very quickly and briefly. Let me see if it has a.
It's 5.5 on IMDb.
Yeah, it's not movie of the year. I'm not going to recommend it I'm not going to force everybody to watch it. It's not everybody's comedy taste. But it's definitely up there with my comedy taste. And it's kind of fun.
Elliot Gould. Rhea Perlman.
There's amazing amounts of random people in there. Jonah Hill plays a Jewish white guy who falls in love with an African American woman, and it's the melding of the two families together and their cultures in all sorts of wacky, cultural difference ways.
Who hasn't seen that in Los Angeles?
Right.
Yeah, it's got great moments. It's
Yeah.
It's not a great movie, but it's got great moments.
Yeah, I would say that's a good way to put it. I don't know. I cried.
Oh,
It touched my heart.
oh. Well then.
I cry easy at that kind of stuff.
The featured review on IMDb is titled "The Racism Actually Got on My Nerves."
Oh my!
Scott,
Wow.
Scott, you didn't choke on your dinner, I hope.
I like the word "actually," though. It's like
Yeah,
I don't
that's
usually
an
mind
intriguing
racism
one.
in films, but this time the racism got on my
I will
nerves.
say, I
Well,
don't.
then it worked.
I clearly have tastes that do not align with the majority of the planet. So with Rotten Tomatoes, this is at a 40 and a 30.
Too far for noon.
Oh,
So maybe don't watch this. I don't know.
Watch Blazing Saddles instead.
There you go. We also watched Furiosa, a Mad Max prequel saga, whatever.
With Hedley Lamar.
I used to play that game as a kid. Quack Furiosa, quack quack quack.
Okay.
Which I enjoyed Furiosa.
I read a brief interview with Mel Brooks recently where he's talking about how impossible it would be to make Blazing Saddles today.
Oh goodness, no.
No, it's very easy how you make Blazing Saddles today. You ready? You have Key and Peele direct it. Then no one can complain because again, they're caught in the trap of, oh, it's people who are people of color that are actually making this movie.
Oh, you're saying we can't make a movie about black culture? What's wrong with you?
Only if there's a black person directing it. You cannot have Christopher Nolan make.
So you're
Black
saying it should be
Klansman.
Medea's Blazing Saddles?
Oh,
Yes,
Ouch.
I think that's a
Wow.
nickname for her. Honestly,
Do you have Medea playing the Cloris Leachman role, or no? That was
so
was
tired.
Madeline Kahn.
Yes.
What's that?
Madeline Kahn.
Yes, thank you, Madeline Kahn. Yes,
I've never even seen it.
her stage performance in that is amazing,
People
Gonna
just
have to
realized
watch
how important those movies were. I just
Yeah.
wish
and how
they did.
brilliant Madeline Kahn was. She was
Yeah.
just so good.
Mhm.
She was
I
good in
saw-
all the. I mean, she was great in Young Frankenstein.
Yes.
She was.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
I want to know what the next Tropic Thunder is going to be.
No tongues.
Ray Pepper's in the comments. He hasn't been here for a while. In 3 quick reviews from Ray Pepper: Long Legs was terrible, Kindness of Kindness was terrible, and Thelma was terrible. So
wow.
Maybe he's just too picky.
or just don't go to the movies with Ray.
terrible movies.
We actually saw Thelma. It is not terrible. It is an old person movie.
Oh,
He looks way too young to enjoy Thelma.
Interesting.
I don't even
If
know what
you're-
he's talking about.
If you're 50
No, I hadn't.
plus, I think you could enjoy Thelma. It's a movie about. It's slightly based on a real story. It was the author of the movie. His grandmother or mother, I can't remember which, got scammed and got cheated out of a few $1,000s. And he fantasized about what would happen if she tried to get it back. And so it's almost like a really incredibly slow, low-key, what if someone in their 80s or 90s was trying to play like a Keanu Reeves, I'm going to get revenge on the person who stole my money. But instead they're driving a walker and they're that's sort of what it is.
Ooh.
It's
kind
not
of along
bad,
those
but You
lines.
definitely have to be in the right demographic for it.
I saw Hitman. You haven't seen that
Oh.
yet?
Oh,
No.
I just read about that today.
2023 movie that got a few things at Sundance. It's really quite good. It's all about this psychology teacher who starts working part-time for the police.
Yes.
And he gets sucked into pretending to be a gun for hire. And he's used as like the sucker to get everybody to admit on mic what they want to do before the police come in and arrest them.
I saw the trailer for this yesterday on Hulu or Netflix or Disney.
It's on Netflix. It's really good.
Netflix. Who is it? Who's the star?
It's Glenn Powell, I think. He also wrote it. He's a young guy. He's like born in '89.
Okay. Oh. Okay.
The woman who plays the romantic lead is making up some ground because she won a Golden Raspberry Award for being worst actress in a movie, I think earlier this year or the year before.
Adria Arjona.
Yes.
Okay.
Whatever that movie was. But she did a really good job on this one. So
Okay.
the guy, Glenn Powell wrote it. He stars in it, and it's directed by the guy who did the Before trilogy, Richard Linklater.
Bless you.
Right.
He's an amazing director, and the script is really good too. So yeah, I would check it out.
We went to see. We took Wade to see Top Gun, the original, at the theater, and got to see that. And it was funny. It's the first time I've watched it the whole way through without getting up to go do stuff and ignore it in a long time. So I was like, I don't remember that part. Oh my God. And it was better than I remembered. Even though we watched it a year ago to do
it's much better on the big screen.
It is much better on the big screen. And then Reagan and I went to see Inside Out too.
I was just going to ask about that. Since we had the double feature, I was wondering who's seen Inside Out too.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I went too.
I've seen it twice now.
He was there too.
Wow.
When we were out in Connecticut, we decided to go watch it with Becca and her girlfriend. So that was fine. That was enjoyable.
Yeah, it was really, really quite good, especially for a sequel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Adam watched Short Circuit, which I would,
Number 5 is alive.
Yeah.
The biggest problem with that movie in hindsight is Fisher Stevens in brown face.
Oh, geez.
Hi, honey. What's for dinner?
The line I remember most, because I thought as a kid or as a teen, I thought this was hysterical. When Fisher Stevens goes, "I am thinking she is a virgin, or at least she used to be." I still remember that line after all these years.
Wow.
Oh, God, brains work.
Is anybody going to try to see Lawrence of Arabia in theaters next month?
What?
Ooh, they're re-releasing it in widescreen.
60th anniversary.
Really?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
That's
Yeah.
tempting.
If you can, it's really, really. If you can stand Obi Black Kenobi, it's totally worth it. Even if you find the story slow or uninteresting, the cinematography alone just is riveting. Absolutely riveting.
Yeah.
Well, that movie is the reason we have George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. So, and it's also the reason we have Oppenheimer and Dune. So, yeah.
Well, Dune is just the sand. It's just a long series of sand movies. So, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer is literally Lawrence of Arabia with a scientist instead of a soldier. And it's not a linear narrative. It's just where. It's really good.
Playing at 1 o'clock.
They walk after going, Albert.
You forgot your motorcycle.
Orange.
Yeah, we won't be going to see.
Stay in my tent, Oppenheimer. Stay here with Dennis Quaid's kid.
That was in the day of the real epic movies. You had Lawrence of Arabia, Dr. Zhivago. There was a period there, even the original Around the World in 80 Days, where they would make these long movies, so long that they would have intermissions in the theaters.
Right.
And it was an experience.
And they were so long because they took years to make.
Oh, yeah.
6 years to make to make Ben-Hur. I think it was 2 or 3 years to make Lawrence of Arabia. I mean, those train permits were hell. So, had to find the right one.
I'm going to go see Deadpool and Wolverine on Sunday. And I'm actually we're going Friday. I'm going Friday, so I can be the person who spoils it.
Oh, before it, Eric.
You had to have one more go.
Hey, Blazing Saddles is going to be on the big screen in September.
Really?
Really? September 15th and September 8th.
Oh, I guess it's 50 years.
Yeah. Yes, because I remember when it came out, I was in first grade. I remember. I'm punching that horse, and I was so upset. And then my parents went to see that movie, and I was just so, what? I've never seen it.
It is the hardest I've ever heard my grandmother laugh when she started to recall the bean scene.
Okay.
Interesting.
It's like, you're not supposed to do that in a movie. What the heck? Yeah.
So I might have to go see that. I've never seen it. That might be the way to do it.
Let's see. When we watched It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, that was back in 2020. Oof.
That was
that was the fourth movie you guys watched. That was before
that was. Yeah. Oh, we were so young and innocent back then.
Who's flying the plane? No one's flying the plane.
It's
I
not
think
a
I saw
great
that at the
movie.
drive-in.
It's a fun movie. It is a bit long. It's still far better than the remake. Rat Race just doesn't hold for me.
No.
First of all, Rat Race did not have the Three Stooges in their 60s.
It
Minus
didn't have
Curly.
all those. I mean, it didn't have Ethel Merman. It didn't have Milton Berle. I mean, it had so many great old stars in it.
Mm-hmm. Spencer Tracy.
Oh yeah,
Looking skinny.
Bernadette Peters in it?
I think
I
so.
don't remember.
Oh, I know that's too early for her. I think.
Yeah, I don't think so. I remember my favorite scene is at the very end when everybody's laughing at Ethel Merman in the hospital. When they all just crack up. Because you take this movie, it has ended in tragedy for so many people.
Oh, yeah.
And it just ends with everybody laughing hysterically.
Oh, this is a different one. I'm thinking of something.
I'd never seen Ethel Merman angry. It was a new experience for me.
She's been, I mean, she was in Airplane.
That's true.
Oh,
I
she thinks
saw
she's
that.
Ethel Merman. There's no business like showing.
This is the treasure hunt movie, and then it's
Yeah.
under the W trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yep.
And then Spencer
It is,
Tracy.
I don't disagree that it's a bit long. I think part of the problem was they had so many stars in it, they had to give each of them enough camera time.
Right.
And then it just ends. And then it just
Jonathan
ends. You're like,
Winters.
all right, we've done enough. Let's just end this.
Don't Look Up has the same problem. There's too many.
I
egos
like
up
Don't Look Up.
I was mad
It's
on Don't
dark.
Look Up. It wasn't bad, but
I would watch it again someday.
I don't see any need to watch it again.
I think
I
what
was fine with having watched it once.
I
Well,
think it's a Mad Men world. Just it needed to have that sketch style to it. Like it was basically a bunch of people bumbling through this one story that you know how it's going to end. They have to find the treasure, and I think that's what Monty Python perfected.
You certainly
down
hope
to it.
so.
Yeah,
It's
maybe
sort
we
of-
were the
something-
treasure all along.
It feels like is that of roughly the same era as The Russians Are Coming? The Russians Are Coming? I think those must have been fairly close together. It has a similar feel to it. It's not the same plot at all, but it has a similar feel.
Good job. That was 66. That was a few years later.
Okay.
All right, I have my movies.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
And since it is a double feature, I think I am going to announce them this week.
Sure.
Just to give people 2 weeks to watch them?
Give you
Yeah,
2
that's fair.
weeks, because one of them is a little longer.
Oh, boy.
No.
It's an opera.
1776.
Not much, not 1776.
Is it
You can,
older?
you can all be very happy that the movie I wanted to choose is also a pay-for movie. So I had 2 movies that would be a pay-for movie. So you ended up not having to watch Moulin Rouge in the next 2 weeks.
Thank you, God.
'Cause you know I love a modern musical.
Unfortunately, I do know that about you.
It's true, but I think you'll all be pretty pleased with my choices for my what is going to be a musical Monday. Is going to start off with Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Classic.
So,
Sorry.
No complaints whatsoever.
1964, streaming on Disney Plus, I believe.
So is this a good musical and then the other one's a bad musical? Is that the idea?
No.
Oh,
okay.
So
No.
something better than Mary
Are
Poppins?
you doing the sequel?
Or not worse than Mary Poppins.
Right, it is the sequel. It is not the sequel. It's
Oh,
the
thank
Wonka
God.
Oh,
and
wow.
Two classics. 2 classics.
Okay,
How about
Eric,
that?
you win. You
You
win
have
the
redeemed
Monday.
yourself completely.
71.
I
How
forgive you
about
for
that?
Sergeant Pepper. I finally forgive you for Sergeant Pepper.
Oh gosh.
Whoa.
So Mary
I would
Poppins
go
is a
that
little
far.
over 2 hours. Adam says yuck to Mary Poppins.
It's long.
It is
It's a long
certainly a
one.
take to have.
Wait, strike that. Reverse it.
Okay, I'm really happy right now. This is good.
Yeah, that's a fun
Willy Wonka is not streaming anywhere, but available for $3.99. If
And
you
at your
don't-
local library.
if you don't own
Yes.
it, of
Hey.
course, available at your local library. So
Or you
there
can
you
watch
go.
the Johnny Depp remake.
I went
Don't
really
be
old
a
school.
dick.
I went old school this time with my musical because it really you almost had to watch Hamilton. But I'll be honest,
It's not a movie. It's
That's
a glorified
cool.
concert show.
It's a
oh, if you
film
wanted a
stage
concert
show.
show, we'd be watching the Taylor Swift show, Era's movie.
But we thought you meant something with music in it.
Oh, that's not right.
I think it is.
The Error Store.
That's terrible. Oh, there you go. You redeem
WWE has
yourself with
entrance
Willy
music.
Wonka. It's a musical, but it's not a heavy musical.
Yeah, the music.
I had a feeling Adam might be okay with Willy Wonka.
Yeah, the music feels less central to that.
So are
Well,
you and
the
Dan
Oompa
going to
Loompas live in his
choreograph an
beard.
Oompa Loompa for us?
I think you should all dress as Oompa Loompas. You got 2 weeks to put a costume together.
Including the short circuit orange face. Oh man.
No, 100% loving your choices, Eric.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah, those are fun.
Those will be fun. I've been holding on to those for a long time.
I can't wait to say how much better it is than the Johnny Depp version.
How about how much better it is than the sequel or prequel that came out recently with Timothy Chalamet?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That wasn't bad.
Oh,
It
look
just
at the
wasn't
Oompa
fun.
Loompas there. There's some good Oompa Loompas.
Yeah, one of them is Emma.
One of them is our daughter Emma.
That's awesome.
That gives you 2 weeks to find a striped shirt and white overalls and a green wig.
And a green wig, yeah.
Yeah, she didn't get to keep that, or I'd be digging it out of the closet.
Hey. Just dye your hair green. It'll be fine.
That's okay. That's
Roald
all right.
Dahl's writing is really kind of dark sometimes for kids' literature.
Yeah, it is.
It's enjoyably dark. No. I mean, Redwall was all about animals killing each other, literally, but he got pretty close.
Well, that
It's
wasn't.
just
Yeah,
implied.
that was not Roald Dahl, though, was it? Redwall.
No, that was Brian Jacques.
Yeah.
And ironically, it was a very bad kids' cartoon. They're afraid to show anyone dying.
Really.
Mm-hmm.
When we went to Connecticut last weekend, we stopped in at the Seuss Museum in Massachusetts and toured the museum. They have an amazing amount of exhibits in there. It is a really cool place. If you're ever out Massachusetts, Connecticut way, and you have any interest at all in children's literature, it's a great, great museum.
I'm going to Boston next week.
They have all these. He had Cat in the Hat stationery that he would dash off notes to family and people all the time, and they have a lot of them there that people have put on loan to the museum, and it's just so much fun to read.
Neat.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charlie
Yes.
Bucket.
Oh, I know.
I feel like I should attend EriDan in 2 weeks, lying in a bed.
Yes. Yes.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Let's all do it.
Yourself super comfortable.
Yes.
Four people in a bed.
Yeah.
2 heads on each end. It's just such an absurd.
Oh, we're totally doing that. We'll get a little
The
cap.
The scene where Grandpa gets out of bed is just amazing. So many amazing scenes in that.
What are we talking about? Oh, Charlie Bucket. Sorry.
Yeah.
That'd be Willy Wonka,
Willy Wonka.
not Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
No. Charlie and the Chocolate
Charlie
Factory.
and the Chocolate Factory.
Starring Jesus as Charlie. That kid is so freaking perfect. He doesn't do anything wrong. And that's why he's a bad character. Sorry, I'm done.
So critical.
Well, he's a film guy. He's got a critique.
Well, and speaking of that, earlier when he was putting all these meanings behind A Fish Called Wanda and these themes, and I'm like, that's a movie guy. That was not. I was like, oh wow, that's kind of deeper than I was going with this movie. Okay,
You guys are very kind. Thank you.
but it's true though. It's just stuff when you go for entertainment, you're not usually looking at the themes and all of that stuff. But
Especially not on first
story
viewing.
there.
Sometimes you pick more of that out on repeat viewings.
True.
Mm-hmm.
But just the way he talked about it, I was like, that's a movie guy.
There's always one little scene that's like, oh, that's what the movie's about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is all about Willy Wonka rolling at the beginning of the film because you don't know what's going to happen next. You need that kind of unpredictability as a kid, especially if you're going to be a business person.
And that was Gene Wilder's suggestion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So clever.
It's one of those
one
cases
requirement.
where the actor understood the character better than even the writers did.
Yeah. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is about Dracula playing a dentist.
And I think that's one of the things that made Otto such a great character in A Fish Called Wanda. The actor clearly understood the character.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, 100%. And that fish was amazing.
And delicious.
Poor Wanda.
Finding
Or
Wanda.
Wanda.
Well, what was her name? The fish was named Wanda.
Everybody was named Wanda.
So,
I don't think that's
She didn't get a lot of screen time, but we really felt it when she went.
we did.
Angelfish. We had angelfish when I was a kid. We loved angelfish.
I never had it before.
My brother had an aquarium, so I got to keep a few fish in it. It was his aquarium.
Nice.
Oh, I thought you meant you ate angelfish.
No,
You said you had angelfish. I'm sorry.
For dinner. They had it for dinner.
the classic meal of angelfish.
I've made such an impression on Scott. He has such an opinion of me.
I'm so terribly sorry.
That's why it was so traumatic for Amanda. It took it back to her childhood when she would see me eating all these fish out of the tank.
Man.
I just have a thing for people who have the opposite of my hair.
You look like you're wearing a EriDan.
I thought it kind of looked at first like he was wearing two hats.
Yeah.
Like he had a hat and then he had a running headband on.
I mean, this is like I actually wear this thing to the airport. I just, sit back.
Oh, that's a good look.
Ooh.
I mean, when I was a kid, I used to just pull my beanie over my head, and people thought I was trying to do something to the plane, so I stopped doing that.
That's probably a good idea. Adam asks if anybody's seen the new trailer for the Captain America movie.
No.
I've seen coverage of it, but not the trailer.
So
I've seen it. It looks like they are really, really wanting people to like this movie.
Yeah.
They got I think it's supposed to take place over the course of a day. Like they're trying to do like a president's thriller, which makes sense because they have Harrison Ford in it, except he's playing the general. It's going to be very intriguing if, because of the appearance of Red Hulk, we're going to get the actual real Hulk coming back this time around.
Huh.
We're getting close to that point where they have to start the next phase. So, what happens? It's the boomerang effect. Everyone goes their separate ways and they all start coming back together. We kind of had the longest boomerang for the last 4 years in Marvel. And I think that's part of the reason why it's been so hard to keep up, because there's just no overlap.
Yeah.
It's like you actually have to invest yourselves in these characters that are not part of the original core 7, with a few exceptions. And that's kind of why they're losing right now.
There's also the new Agatha Harkness series coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that your favorite character, guys?
She was really good in WandaVision, but the trouble was...
Yeah. She's a villain.
It's interesting, because WandaVision really set up the MCU's television on Disney Plus with a home run.
Mm-hmm.
And then they followed up with Loki season 1, which was really good, and they were just sort of downhill from there. And the same thing happened on Netflix. Daredevil season 1 is amazing.
Yep.
And Jessica Jones season 1 is almost as good as is Daredevil season 2 is still good, and it just kept going downhill from there. It's weird how they've, on both streaming platforms, they could not maintain their quality. I'm not sure if they were just trying to produce too much too quickly or what.
Well, it's partly because
the Marvel stuff.
Every single Marvel movie had the same producing team, the same trio. You had Kevin Feige, you had Victoria Alonso, and whoever the director was at the time. Victoria's gone. I actually got to meet both of them at school. She was an amazing woman. She wanted to do other projects that were outside of Disney, and they wouldn't let her do movies with a competing studio.
Mm-hmm.
I almost jumped.
I definitely jumped.
Usually those are reserved for Dan, so you.
I know you stepped up your game.
100%. Yeah, it's so much harder to run a whole TV show when the showrunner's the most important thing versus running all those movies back to back to back. So it's just too much work.
Another thing too is Daredevil season 1 had a great villain in Kingpin.
Yes.
And Jessica Jones season 1 had a great villain in Kilgrave.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, they sort of struggled to give me a villain that I was really impressed with enough to really feel the evil coming out of the screen in some
Here's
ways.
the question: should they have destroyed such awesome villains in one season, or should
Well,
they
they
have
didn't destroy Kingpin.
Well, they didn't. That's true, but they did try to sort of, at least partially, move on.
Yeah.
In
Well, that was the
season
thing.
2.
Part of that may have also been D'Onofrio was too expensive or something too. I don't know.
Well, at least he was back then. Now he's available for the Hawkeye series.
Well, that's the problem, guys, is that the real villain in Marvel now is not some big, huge baddie. The real villain is society.
Yeah, you're right. And it's either one of two things. It's either society or it's a giant cosmic villain like Thanos.
Yes.
Whereas someone like Kingpin is down to earth enough that he feels real.
He could actually
really, I enjoyed the Hawkeye series quite a bit because it really was more of a street level, superhero movie.
Right. It just wasn't really Marvel-ish.
Yeah, just like Iron Fist.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Exactly. We could have a whole Marvel discussion, guys. We just need to watch
we
the
could.
movie.
And we could have.
We're losing Wade and Stacy and Amanda already, so.
Well, we've already gone further than Dan would have let us go, so you know.
Are we going to break 10 o'clock is the question.
Still waiting for Dan. All right.
Yeah, they are doing another Daredevil series on Disney Plus. I'm looking forward to that. We'll see if they can do it right.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Disney Plus, Adam says that the Acolyte was atrocious. I've not watched that at all.
Mm-hmm.
I am so tired of Star Wars and the massive oversaturation that I've given up on it.
Long story short, they allowed people who made fun of people for watching Star Wars to make a Star Wars show.
That shows.
Yeah.
That's not good. I don't even understand that it's Star Wars, except it has lightsabers in it.
Jedis.
Well, and apparently
They say they're
lightsabers don't
Jedis.
mean anything in Disney Star Wars anymore. You can get stabbed with a lightsaber and you're fine. You know, whereas as a kid, you learned if you get hit with a lightsaber, you lose a limb or you're dead.
Right.
Like
And you can apparently pick one up at the 5 and dime now.
Exactly.
Hey, you got any lightsabers? What color do you want?
We got ones that don't go in your eye. They're broken.
I was thinking
This one was
about
only
that.
used by a little old lady who only killed on weekends.
We were watching the latest episode right before we came on, maybe a little while ago today. And I was thinking about when my cousin was little. And he's younger than me, and he was Star Wars everything. And correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't there lightsabers that glowed in the dark? They were that glow in the dark plastic. Does
Yes.
anybody remember those? Okay. That's what was on my mind, because I'm looking at the Star Wars thing that my daughter has that goes and turns on, and I'm like, wow, they've come so far.
We were watching. Go ahead.
Props are amazing today. 100%.
Yeah.
We were watching an episode of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, the new season, and one of their questions was a movie question. It was, what 70-year-old franchise won its first Oscar in 2024 for special effects?
Godzilla.
And they put up, people were struggling with it, the celebrities. They put up James Bond. I'm thinking, that's not 70 years old. Then they put up Planet of the Apes, and I'm thinking, that's not 70 years old
either.
And I can't remember what the third one was. There was only one that the original movie was in black and white. How can you get this wrong? And they had to finally ask the audience, and the audience was 80-some% for Godzilla, so they got it right. But it was kind of embarrassing.
Well, to be fair, the new Godzilla movie also just came out in black and white because directors.
But I've seen multiple black and white movies in the last 20 years. I mean, there was, Mel Brooks' silent movie was black and white, wasn't it?
No,
it wasn't.
It was not.
It wasn't.
It was
I
silent.
somehow for some reason remember it that way. There was also the
Parts of it may have been.
The Artist.
The Artist, yeah. Young Frankenstein was the black and white Mel Brooks movie.
Yeah.
Oh yes. A little surprised silent movie wasn't, but yeah.
Oh, 100%, Adam. I completely agree.
Yes,
It's the best.
I do
Godzilla
agree
movie.
with that. It is great.
All the special effects were done by one guy, and he also directed it.
But were there little singing twins?
Nope.
He's going to save that for his inevitable Hiroshima movie.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, the guy from Godzilla -1 wants to make a Hiroshima movie, and it is going to be amazing. Again, we were talking about, Key and Peele making Blazing Saddles. You're going to allow a
That's a cheerful
Japanese
subject.
director to make a Hiroshima movie. It's going to be great.
We should have a German make a Hiroshima movie. Just see what it's like.
We heard a boom. We said, what was that noise? And we went back to shooting.
We will now bomb you, or you will surrender now.
What's the matter, Eric? You German?
What was that? A little bit.
Have we watched any? I know we watched Saving Private Ryan.
Yep.
We've watched a few war movies. Have we watched any sort of vintage war movies, like 1950s or earlier?
Gunga Din?
Sort of. Yeah, that's sort of one. That's a good point. Yeah, I'd count that. You're right.
That's all.
The Robinson Crusoe family. I actually would love to see Master Commander. That'd be cool for us to do.
Yeah, that's a good one. I also love nautical movies. I loved the Hornblower series with Ian Gelfand, and I just love those kind of movies.
Adam, this is the problem, man. This is that people, once you get branded as something and you win an Oscar for it, that's your thing. Unless you're Steven Spielberg, whose thing is to be Michael Curtiz.
Well, there's certain directors, like M. Night Shyamalan, who's incredibly inconsistent.
Oh yeah,
he'll make a movie that blows your socks off, and his next 3 movies are trash.
Well,
not as good, but garbage.
He's very consistent. He consistently makes the same movie, and it's either really great or awful.
At least he's consistent.
Exactly.
You gotta get the twist.
That's right. We know. Yes, Twist of Shyamalan, the new drink. I saw Old. That was just hilarious.
Rosebud.
I'm like, Shyamalan, did you have to share your fetish with us? Keep 3-year-olds away from the aging beach, please, and away from Shyamalan.
Well, it's like Big, right?
Yeah. Oh God. Yes. All right, so Adam will like that movie too. Look, we're disagreeing on stuff. This is great.
It's a little long, as I recall, but it's a really good movie. I may be misremembering that too. So
they were going to do another one, but then Marcel Crowe got fat, so they couldn't do it anymore.
Well, it also didn't do as well at the box office as they'd hoped.
But it's a darn shame because it's so well directed. That movie could not have been made without Pirates getting so popular.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, then we got into the big, huge CGI phase, and thank you guys so much for joining the Dave and Scott podcast. This has been nice.
Everybody's gotten distracted by their own thing.
I was looking up silent movie earlier because I said Bernadette Peters, and I thought that was the movie that I had seen at the drive when we were talking about Mad World. I thought that was Mad World, and it was a movie. So I saw that at drive-in.
Wasn't she in Heart Bleeps? If you remember Heart Beeps, it was a pretty awful movie.
Heart Beeps.
Andy Kaufman and Bernadette Peters.
Oh gosh!
Wow, thing you make
about robots falling in love.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
You are right. I remember the cover for that movie. Yeah.
That sounds special.
That
was so funny.
Yeah.
Very much of its era, which was 1981.
It'd be so funny if Bernadette Peters in Guys and Dolls, because then I could also say that she was in Wall-E.
I thought Johnny Depp was already in Fortnite. I'm so confused.
I'm not going to make a trial joke here.
So, would you have considered Eric Little Shop of Horrors as a musical?
No,
or is that one you're not as fond of?
Okay.
No, that's a Tim Burton movie. He likes to do musical-ish movies.
But it is a musical. I mean, it was a stage musical.
Oh, absolutely. I considered My Fair Lady, but again,
That's a little long.
It's also a little long.
That would have been an interesting contention. My Fair Lady and Mary Poppins in the same week.
Let me say, My Fair Lady was still playing in the band room when Reagan was in school. So from when we started it in 1985. So
movie.
It was still on.
There's Camelot. There's because you got the Lerner and Lowe, you've got the Rodgers and Hammerstein.
I was pretty set on Willy Wonka. It was the second movie that I was kind of waffling on what it was going to be.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Good.
Yeah, that's very long.
Yes, it is, and it's less of a musical than some of them.
And they really ruined it. So
It's such an amazing coincidence. The guy who made James Bond made Chitty Chitty
Bang Bang. Yeah, Ian, I have that book on my shelf, so I'm really quite aware of that. Yes.
For people who are Tolkien fans, what they did with the Hobbit trilogy is like trying to make Chitty Chitty Bang Bang into a James Bond movie. Like they did not get the tone at all.
Here you go.
That's a good one.
Likes bed knobs and
I always
broom.
like Angela Lansbury.
that's a good one.
I've never seen
Me
that.
too, Adam. I love that movie.
You're at the age of not believing.
Do a double feature with Bell Book and Candle. Look at witch movies. Do it for Halloween.
Wow.
Or you could do Darkness Falls. Have you guys seen that?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the worst B movie that they would show on Warner Brothers every freaking July about this tooth fairy who got killed, and she swore revenge against all kids. And basically, if you see her face, you die.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
So only blind kids were safe.
Exactly.
I see Adam's coming up with all these musicals he likes now.
Wow.
Popeye,
Oh
Popeye
no!
Popeye is not bad. My problem with Popeye
Yes, it
is it's so much lost potential. It could have been such a better movie than it was.
Yeah.
It was so.
Yeah.
It was so mucky.
And it's dubbed so
Waste.
badly, so that Robin Williams it just looks odd because Popeye never looks like he's really talking.
Mm-hmm.
It was terrible. I have creepy feelings from it now.
We could watch it in honor of the passing of Shelley Duvall.
I was gonna say, you guys gonna shit on Shelley Duvall right now, really?
It's not about her. It's about the whole feel of
Well,
the movie.
I love all of her movies.
I do like the music because Harry Nilsson wrote the music for it. So, and I'm a big fan of Harry Nilsson, so I'll give it that.
We had just gotten cable, like when that came out and was on HBO, and
It is a missed opportunity. It could have been a good movie, but it wasn't.
It could have. I agree with that. It could have, but it was so just damp and sad.
So damp.
It was damp and very.
I mean, he is a sailor.
Yeah, I know, but there are some sunny days out on the water.
Popeye the Damp Sailor Man.
Yes. It could have been. It could have been really cute.
I fought her with class, and now I need some axe. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man.
I have the deluxe edition soundtrack of Popeye that came out a couple years ago because, again, I'm a big Harry Nilsson fan, but more a fan of the soundtrack than the album of the movie, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Amanda, favorite Popeye episode? Go.
I don't remember. I did watch Popeye, but I was so young at the time. I don't remember it.
Yes,
I had a plush Popeye that is mostly what I think of when I think of Popeye.
Had or have?
I think still have.
Finish when I eat my spinach.
I think it's
Popeye the Sailor Man.
The best Popeye scene is not even in a Popeye movie. It's in Wolf of Wall Street.
I have never seen Wolf of Wall Street.
Ooh.
Okay, now Dave, now you need to watch that movie and know exactly what I'm talking about. It is hilarious. Absolutely amazing.
Excellent. Oh,
yeah. Trouble with
There
that,
you go,
Adam,
you
is
see
I'm gonna get toast and crumbs and hot dog juice all over
We
my
should
monitor.
watch it together in groups.
Oh, there you go.
Dan and Adam can watch it. If they're in the same area, and Scott, and then we can all watch it together at Eric's house or Dave's house or Amanda's
just
place.
want to throw things at the screen.
Yeah, have an East Coast and a West Coast viewing parties.
We
Jump
should.
to the left.
We should totally
That'd be
do it.
awesome.
I've never actually seen Rocky Horror, so I would
Me
be down to
neither.
actually see it sometime.
Okay, Amanda, you need to see Rocky Horror by yourself first,
Yes,
and then you need to see it
I
in the
would
theater.
highly recommend that.
It is
Yeah.
cheesy,
I,
but it is still enjoyable, and the music is actually surprisingly good.
and I've heard some of this. I had friends in undergrad who were obsessed with. It's I've heard a bunch of the songs. I just
Don't watch it with anybody who's obsessed with it. They will ruin
Yeah.
it.
No, that never happened. I never saw.
It's like
Kingsford
watching someone's favorite YouTube channel with them. They will just start saying all the little jokes. And you're like,
Yeah.
how do you know all this?
This is the
Meatloaf
best.
again.
This is the best. Oh, this part's wonderful. Wait, just wait. This part's so good.
Yeah, Tim Curry is amazing in that movie.
Are you laughing now? Are you laughing?
Did your brother see that?
Why aren't you laughing? This gets better. Oh, just wait. It gets better.
It's funny because he has a penis.
The King's Court Theater in Oakland, right by Pitt, used to show it every weekend. And I went up probably 4 or 5 times with friends to watch it during high school.
To be fair, on the topic of our earlier Monty Python discussion, like I am a big Monty Python fan. Like Jen and I did a Monty Python sketch in forensics, like public speaking competitions in high school. We did the Dead Parrot and the Flying Sheep sketch as a duo interpretation. So like, I like Monty Python, but like it got kind of ruined for me a bit in like late high school, undergrad, because like everyone in like
Just
my
too much.
larger wide group was constantly quoting it. Like it was just it was the hip thing for everyone to quote, and it got
There were
so
just
tired.
there were just certain lines I still remember years and years and
just
years
everyone
later.
going like, "We're the Knights who say me," and I'm like, "Please."
Yes,
shut
those
up."
are the overdone lines. I like some of the
exactly.
lesser
Well, that's the
known
problem.
lines.
Is
Like,
that people said the overdone lines all the time, so I
I'm
just
sick and tired of all this sex on the telly. I
Wait,
mean, I keep
Stacey's
falling
having
off.
flashbacks. Stacey's having flashbacks to her fish named Wanda guy.
yeah, no,
Exactly. That's
well,
exactly.
I related to that when you were describing it. It was like, yeah, that was my people in Monty Python for me.
And it didn't make me as mad as Breakfast Club because I had not seen the Breakfast Club yet in college, and then I went home and after breaking up with him, and right before I met Wade, and was watching it, and I'm like, "Are you freaking serious?"
And now you won't forget about him.
The Dead Parrot sketch, the Argument King, the Cheese Shop, and 1 or 2 others are just so overwatched and so overquoted.
That's the problem.
And pretty much all of Holy Grail.
Yeah, exactly. And it was mostly people quoting Holy Grail was really what it was.
Yeah, that I had people who were obsessed with Holy Grail watch Holy Grail with me for the first time and completely ruined my chance of liking that movie.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I'm sorry. I told you I'm sorry.
It was Dave, wasn't it? It was Dave.
It was college people, but yeah.
Oh yeah, same.
Well, there are really only 3 Monty Python movies. There's Holy Grail, Life of Brian, and Meaning of Life. I mean, they did, and now for something completely different, but that was a stage show. They have some. There's really only 3 actual movies.
And a few episodes in SNL.
Well, sure.
Like drag racing.
But to me, Life of Brian is the one that holds up best as a standalone movie.
100%.
Oh my god!
It's hard to believe it generated as much controversy as it did because it is so mild. It really is.
In the meantime, Passion of the Christ is totally fine.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's
You
focus
can
on how
show
Jesus
violence
died.
and
That's what the Dark
bleeding all
Ages
you
did.
want. You show half a second of flashing of male frontal nudity and people get offended.
Well, yes, because the woman wasn't before him. She was after him.
He's just a naughty boy.
He's not the Messiah. Terry Jones.
All right. When we start devolving into
And on that note,
Jehovah.
We're done.
We're gonna go watch the Absolutely Fabulous.
It's about as far into the ground as we can.
Sorry, Dan.
It took me a while to appreciate Absolutely Fabulous, but after a while, I really did come to like it.
Yeah, it's an acquired.
You really have to get to know the characters to start to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Patsy. And Adina. And the poor daughter.
Oh yes,
I did not get into that. I did not. I found no. There was nothing there for me.
Yeah, we were watching it sorta, and then Reagan got hooked. So.
So next week is game night.
Yeah.
As we continue on through EriDan Summer. So you want to be here next Monday night for some Jackbox games. And then
the Summer of EriDan continues.
That's right, it is. It is
EriDan.
if Dan ever shows back up again. No.
The Summer of Era continues.
And and then we'll come back here for some musical talk in 2 weeks. Mary Poppins and Willy Wonka. So there you go. Whoop whoop. Keep yourself busy. Find copies if you can, and we'll meet you back here.
Alrighty.
All right. Good night, everybody. See ya. Good night. Where's the button? There.
Goodbye.